My name is Alex Caserta. As an artist and photographer, my mission is to create documentaries using a straightforward approach. One of my goals is to continue telling stories that include historical information, inviting the viewer to develop a sense of place. Welcome to a new series of episodes that showcases farming, the individuals who work the land and sea, the stewardship of open spaces, and the importance of supporting the local farmers in the ocean state.
This is Harvesting Rhode Island.
I'm here at Narrow Lane Orchard with Steve Grenier. Steve, you've got a beautiful orchard here. You've got a nice variety of apples. How many varieties do you have?
We have approximately about probably 20 different varieties, and we chose to have the dwarf trees because, one, we don't want people in the trees, and it's easier for people to pick. We have people that come, it's not wheelchair accessible, but we do have people that come in wheelchairs and are able to pick apples, which is a big plus because it helps. We have a lot of families that come and the little kids can pick the trees, so the dwarf trees are really nice.
Now, give us an example of the types of varieties that you have.
We have Gala, Crispin, McGowan, McIntosh, Cortland, Cameo, Red Free, Empire, Liberty, Brayburn, Fuji. We've got a couple of delicious trees.
Now you also have, besides the orchard for the apples, you also have other fruits that you grow.
Yeah, we have thornless blackberries where you can stand in front of the bush and literally fill a half a bucket without moving your feet. They're so thick. We have blueberries, we have peaches, and we have kiwi berries.
Now, Steve, when you purchased this land, it was already an orchard, but was in disarray to some extent. So you purchased it how many years ago?
Approximately 18 years ago, we purchased the orchard, and I said to Paul Lamore was his name, I said, I would love to be able to make this work. Can you teach me everything there is to know about apples? And he kind of smirked, and I actually thought apples just grew on trees. Had no idea how much work is involved. Pruning in the winter when it's 10 degrees, and then you got to pick up all the prunings, and then all the classes that you have to take to learn about the spraying and the bugs and pest management and URI extension. Heather helps us tremendously.
Heather Fobert,
Heather Fobert, on a tremendous amount of questions I have for her. And but I love it. I enjoy it. I love it when people come out of the orchard and they say, "Thank you for having the orchard."
Well, the thing that I love is that you saved this land from going to house lots.
Yes. I'm sure a developer would have purchased it in a heartbeat and turned it into house lots. I would hate to see that happen.
Absolutely. How many acres do you have?
It's a 30-acre farm. What we have 10 acres of fruit that we're expanding little by little. My wife and I are kind of torn between, do we continually climb or do we relax in our golden years that are coming? So we're kind of tossed, but every year we do something different, so we keep adding, so I think that's going to be the nature of what it is. I think we will just keep expanding.
Now, besides the farmers markets, you also have Pick Your Own.
Yeah.
And you have a farm stand on location here.
Yes.
Where people can come and purchase the berries and the apples, and thought I saw some beehives around.
Yes, over by the pond, we have a beekeeper, and she comes and she tends to the bees, and she harvests the honey and jars it for us, and it's all our honey from all the fruit that we have.
Now, what do you call the honey?
Honey.
Just honey, not narrow lane honey.
Well, yeah,
narrow lane orchards.
Yes, it's narrow lane orchard honey. Yes.
Okay,
yes,
that way in case people see it out there, we want to make sure they know.
Yeah.
Now, I know you're a member of the Rhode Island Farm Bureau.
Yeah.
And can you tell me something a little bit about them? I know they help farmers.
The Farm Bureau was a tremendous help in us bringing the orchard up to what it is today. They provided us with grants for the deer fence. They provided us with a grant for a well. They provided us the grant for this building we're in. And all of that is a tremendous boost to young farmers to be able to turn something around to make it sustainable so that you can actually make a living doing it. It's not an easy living. There's a lot of work, but if you're willing to put the time and effort in, it's rewarding.
Do you think running an orchard is easier than planting crops, let's say, specialty crops, or maybe livestock, or just different?
I don't think it's any easier. There's a tremendous volume of effort in growing crops. I think growing crops is easier because you're just selling to markets generally. You're not dealing with lots of people and different personalities that come in to pick.
Now, do you deal with any of the local restaurants in Rhode Island?
There is a local restaurant, Celestial Cafe, that has farm-to-table dinners that buys our fruit on a regular basis. And we've gone to half a dozen of his meals, and they're tremendous. And he's right in Exeter, about 10 minutes away. And he's never, ever said no to us when we say, do you want to buy some fruit? And it's a tremendous asset.
So, Steve, do you run this business with your wife?
I run the business with my wife. She takes care of day-to-day operations. I'm basically the labor force. I get all the trees squared away through the winter, and my wife wants it to look like a putting green, and I say it's an orchard. It's okay if the grass is 3 inches tall. It's not a golf course, but she's pretty particular, and she wants it mowed like a golf course.
Now, do you think someday that you'll produce cider?
That's on the table. We're working. We do have enough fruit that we could do cider, and that's on the table, and that's a whole nother realm of different things that you have to do for the state, the requirements, the size of the cider machine, and what have you. But that is on the table. We've discussed that a little bit.
And you'll call it cider, or
we'll call it Narrow Lane Orchard Cider. Yeah, we'll put our name.
We'll
on
keep
it.
our eyes open for that in the future. It sounds good. Steve, what type of apples you picking right now?
These are called Empire apples, and it's a nice red firm apple. And we pick the high ones because we don't want anybody climbing up into the trees.
Yeah.
So we take care of all the high ones and we leave all the low ones. And my wife really doesn't like me doing this because she thinks I'm clumsy, but it's just part of the job.
Well, pretty soon they'll all be picked, and you won't have to worry about it anymore until next season.
That's the plan. We love to have majority of all the apples down and either sold to the markets or off to the deer or the pig farmer that lives around the corner. I think I got all the high ones.
Now, when will you start pruning?
We start pruning in January and February when the trees are dormant. And one year there was so much snow we were doing it in snowshoes.
Oh.
Because it was deep. But it takes approximately 20 minutes a tree to prune a tree, depending on the size and how many suckers. Like this tree's loaded with suckers from this year. We really didn't prune it that much this winter because we had a lot to do. But it takes approximately 20 minutes a tree, and multiply times 3,500 trees, that's a lot of minutes.
Now, can you explain what the suckers look like so the people in the community understand just the type of work that has to be done?
Suckers are basically these thin branches that grow straight up or straight down. And
like this here?
Yes, and those have to be clipped off. Sunlight makes fruit buds, so you want to have as much sunlight coming into the tree as possible, which makes a fruit bud, basically. So more sunlight, the more fruit you have.
Okay, so you want to try to keep any type of branch that's this thickness and...
Right, there's a bunch of different rules of thumbs as far as pruning is concerned. Anything that's half the thickness of the branch that it's growing out of, you want to cut off. You want to get rid of all the ones that are going straight up and straight down, and you want the branches to go horizontal. Provides more sunlight.
People can do that with some of the trees or bushes in their own yard.
We have a lot of people that say, I have an apple tree in my yard and I don't have fruit. What is the reason? Well, there's a wide variety of reasons. There's a new bug out, winter moth, that what it does is it crawls into the fruit bud and eats the fruit bud. So therefore it eats the bud, you're not going to have any fruit. A lot of squirrels and what have you, if they don't know how to prune properly. This particular piece here, this is second year growth, and if you look at this one, this is first year growth. So the thickness, it generally takes 3 years before you'll get a fruit on that branch. So people sometimes will clip the wrong branch, so therefore they won't have any fruit.
You did not come from a family of farmers.
No, I did not.
None of your relatives were farmers.
No.
And do you think that your children will someday think about taking this over?
I'm not sure. They all have headed in different directions. They see the work that's involved, and all my children have a good work ethic, but I think they see how much time is consumed in this. So I don't know. You never know. And I'm not ready to throw in the towel yet. I've got a lot more years left.
If you met a young couple who decided that they would like to begin an orchard of their own, would you encourage them to do so?
Absolutely, without question. It's trying, but there's more rewards than there is. Last year we had no peaches and we had very few apples. We didn't open, we just had enough apples for markets. And that was a very trying year. So a young couple, you have to have something else to fall back on for those times. But the previous owner, he had a frost once in, I think he told me 17 years. And we had this frost once in 18 years since we've had it. So I'm hoping it'll go another 18 before we have another one.
Part of the fun of being in the orchard is walking through the orchard and smelling it.
Yeah, I'm immune to that now. I've smelled it so much
but
I can't
it has
even
the
anymore.
scent of apples, which I think is just wonderful.
Yeah, and the apples that are on the ground, they don't go to waste. Some of them go to the deer that are in the woods. Majority of them go to a pig farmer that's right around the corner.
I'm sure the pigs are happy with the apples.
Yeah, it's kind of, they love it. They see me come with the barrels and they all come to the gates. They know. Yeah.
Uncle Steve's here.
Yeah.
Steve, thank you very much for having us today at Narrow Lane Orchards. We appreciate it.
Well, thanks for coming.
I'm here with Anne Marie Bouthelette, and we are at Blackbird Farm in Smithfield, Rhode Island. It looks like a whole different world out here. There's all sorts of beautiful pastures. This is tucked away. It's real nice. The cows are watching us
Yep.
on the other side of the fence. Now, you have roughly around 100 Black Angus cows.
I have over 100 head of Angus cows. And that can be market cattle, that can be weaned off cattle, that can be productive cows, and with calves on the side. So we do a lot of different things here at Blackbird Farm with our cattle.
Your cows are 100% Black Angus.
Yep, these beautiful four-legged girls that we see out here are 100% Angus. And what that means is Kevin and I, well, I should say my husband Kevin, he should get the credit, selected the mama cows that first came to this farm 18 years ago. We have one of the oldest cows on the property, which is 18, and wanted specific pedigrees that had carcass numbers and ribeyes and things that were going to get you a great steak on the table. And these weren't just any Black Angus cow that was going to be out in the pasture. These were animals that were productive and great breeding animals that would wean off a great calf to either go back into the herd or go into one of your fine restaurants that we do sell to.
When you have a beef or a pork product, you want marbling in that product.
Well, a lot of people are misunderstood or misunderstand what marbling is. Marbling is that white in between the grain, which is in the grain of the steak or in the pork. This actually has to be bred into the animal. These animals here, it's bred into them. So when you shop at our farm stand or eat at one of the fine restaurants that serve our product, it's a well marbled with a great fat cap to it because it's bred into them. It has to be a specific type breeding.
Now, then marbling is going to have a lot to do with the flavor, I'm guessing.
Yes, it is, plus the dry aging.
Now, when you age meat, what's the benefit of doing something like that?
It enhances what you've already done from the ground up.
Flavor?
Yeah, and the texture, and it just adds. Salted Slate did some ribeyes that were, I think, 59 days in his cooler from this farm. And Nick's on Broadway has done the same. A lot of these restaurants have all done that. The restaurants are invited to come out here with their restaurant staff to see the utmost care these animals get. So it's not my job to reveal the recipes.
Right. And how long do you age your beef for?
For our farm stand, we're comfortable at 21. Sometimes we go 30. It just depends upon when the butcher's going to cut our beef. I want to say what makes this beef different, it's consistent.
Yeah.
That's what, and the pork is just as consistent. So each side, each one of these restaurants will tell you is just as good as the last side that went in there.
And how many pigs do you have?
We have well over 100 pigs, and that means mama pigs, boars, market pigs, that could be over 200 of them, and piglets. And those are all American Heritage Berkshire pigs.
So a lot of these heavy pigs will have a higher fat content.
Yeah, so a lot of your weight and what these people are being charged, or the chef is being charged, is the fat. And when they go to butcher this animal, they're going to lose. They don't want to lose. They want to gain. They only want to lose a small piece of it because it is a price tag to put farm to fork in restaurants. You know, a lot of these restaurants that we talked about are really 100% farm to fork. And they want to be able to make something off of this, but also provide the best that Rhode Island provides for their people that come in and eat at their restaurants. My mom was the city girl from Providence.
She bought the land?
That would still never go into a barn even at 88 years of age. No, my dad wanted to be a farmer, and my parents lived West Coast. They lived New Mexico, California, and my mom said, if you want to be a farmer, we have to go back east where my family is, and we'll let you be the farmer. They found a 12-acre homestead farm, which was called Lucky 12, and it was 12 acres and lucky to find it. They had the 12 acres. My dad would take some of the old horses that were being retired from the old Lincoln Downs and bring them there. And my grandfather, which was my dad's dad, told him he could never have any animals. And my dad told him one day before he passed away that he would have so many animals that he wouldn't be able to count them. And trust me, he did. And my brothers and I grew up on this small farm. My brothers are older than I am, and we all seem like we branched off into a little bit of homestead farming, but we kind of got into the big farm here.
Once you have an animal on the farm, do you have a particular schedule for that animal in terms of what you're feeding them and what you expect in terms of weight gain over a certain period of time before you can actually take that animal and harvest it?
Okay, so if you have the proper genetics and you have the proper feeding program, the offspring of these particular cows, meaning the calves, we like to harvest between 12 and 18 months. And that's just not, massive amount of killing. That is what they call is ratio rates that are ready for harvesting.
Okay.
So these animals are going to ratio the ones that you're putting into market anywhere from 1,100 to 1,350 pounds, depending upon frame size of that particular animal. Now, your mama cows are only fed a ration of round baleage in the winter, which is baled from my son on some of these fields here. But also, they don't get fed an ounce of grain because you want to keep them at a steady rate where they're not overly fat, the mama cows. But when you're weaning calves off, you're putting them on a non-GMO grain, a grain that's going to keep them steady, okay? And you're feeding supplements, not anything with antibiotics, no hormones, but you're feeding supplements like vitamins, like you would normally take. Mm-hmm. And that's going to help with the growth process. But really where you're starting is genetics. Genetics is what's going to help you to gain where you want to go.
So it's just like buying a purebred racehorse. Mm-hmm. It's the same with cows and
Mm-hmm.
with pigs.
Exactly.
And I'm assuming even with sheep.
And in the farm to fork movement, as I perceive it, is to know who your farmer is, know where your food comes from, and you can't beat our meat because we know what's in it. Garbage to garbage, your animals are garbage. And ours live a nice, long, healthy life here at this farm because we're plain and simple. Again, you want to know what you're eating, and you are essentially what these animals are eating, just like pork. If you're buying pork and you don't know where it comes from, you're really taking in a lot of toxins that you don't even know you took in. Yeah. And they're fed 90% garbage. And these are not. These are nice, beautiful, healthy animals here at this farm.
Now, we have some of the best beef and pork here in Rhode Island that you can buy just as good as anywhere else in the country.
Mm-hmm. Quality over quantity. Quality
Right.
should always be what you want to eat. And you should never have to put a price tag on it. And the thing is, the steaks at our farm stand, are going to be quite pricey. But you know what? You're going to walk away with the sensation of really feeling satisfied and knowing where that food came from, including the pork chops. They're 1.5 inches thick, and you're not going to feel like you overate. You're going to feel satisfied when you eat that product.
Hey, Marie, if you came across a young couple who said that they would like to go into this type of business, would you encourage them?
Yeah, I would. I would really encourage it because you want to stay out of that grocery store. You want to know where your food comes from. And knowing that you made that piece of meat, I think is really important. Yeah, I would encourage it, these little homestead farms that are starting to pop up. And look at that, people and young children, I really do encourage it because that's the future of the farm to fork is little homesteading. and raising a few animals, and knowing where your food comes from, and educating the next person. Yeah, so I do encourage
going
it.
back to the past a little bit.
I think it is a good way to go, and it teaches them work ethics as well.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and they learn about farming.
Yeah, quality starts at a farm, and knowing who the farmer is.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, and I think maybe we can go say hi to the cows.
That's fine. The girls are waiting to see you.
Okay.